I don't really have a plan for today's video, if it even becomes a video. But I'm just cruising around, having a good time. So I figured I'd press the record button on my camera, and if it makes an interesting video, then I'll post it. If it's really boring, I might post it anyway, just for fun. But yeah, just cruising around today. Right now we're at Pima Tuning State Park. This is a reservoir in western Pennsylvania. Just cruising around, having a good time. Trying to keep it under 25 here. But anyway, just enjoying ourselves. Thinking about making like an intro sequence at some point, but I don't know exactly what it would be. I like the way that whenever you turn on the bike, the tachometer flips the whole way up and then back down while the lights turn on. I think that's kind of cool. Might incorporate a visual aspect of that. I haven't used Adobe After Effects in a very long time, and I don't currently have access to the program, and I'm not sure what other like special effects software choices there are out there. So if anyone has any advice for how to make a nice intro sequence, let me know. I can try to kind of fumble around, see what I can make with just my regular video editing software that I use, which has been Clipchamp. I don't know. I use that because it's free and I have access to it right now. None of my videos are monetized, so I was thinking if they ever do become monetized, I make over $100, maybe I'll put that $100 towards a yearly subscription to the Adobe products, Premiere Pro, After Effects, etc., the Creative Cloud, because I had previously learned how to use those. It's just been a long time since I have. But anyway, I do like the way this bike sounds in a tunnel, so I was kind of thinking maybe I'd go over a tunnel that's nearby and give it a few revs. Try not to be too obnoxious for everybody, but maybe just record the sound of that. And then if I were to overlay that with the the way the tachometer flicks on whenever I turn off my bike, that could potentially be one choice for the basis of my intro, I guess, if that makes sense. I love this bike, man. And that is the most obnoxious thing I'll do today. I love that sound. I got like goosebumps, man. So anyway, earlier I was saying that every year at the Heritage Days event, there's a cackle fest where mostly gassers, like old hot rods, will be on Main Street in Greenville, and they'll sometimes they allow them to do a couple of little burnouts, but for the most part they just rev their engines, and most of the people around enjoy experiencing these unique sounds that are produced by mostly supercharged motors and other V8s and whatnot. But I think it would be interesting some year to bring the R6 and give a little bit of a unique flavor to the soundscape, given that this little 600cc motorcycle engine would produce a vastly different, much higher revving, but much lower, I guess, cylinder size and displacement sound. Okay, now I just described the physical characteristics of the motor and then described it as a sound. Each motor makes a very unique sound. In the Cackle Fest, like I said, it's mostly V8s, which have a very like grumbly characteristic, whereas this is a very smooth sounding, higher pitched sound sound. I don't know how to describe it there. Also, if you have forced induction, like a turbocharger or a supercharger, there will be elements of that which help produce unique sounds. But even a standard intake, you can kind of hear a portion of that, or a slightly modified element. You can hear the intake sounds on even stock vehicles usually. And then if you have like a ram air intake or something like that, that can slightly impact the way that the induction noise sounds, the sound that's produced from that. And then, yeah, like I said, like the turbochargers, if there is a turbocharger on a vehicle, it will often spool up, and you'll hear that. And then there's a blow-off valve on most turbochargers that whenever the gas is let off, then there tends to be like a sound that a lot of car enthusiasts enjoy. So those are cool. And then yeah, different types of superchargers make different kind of whines and different sounds as well. But I'm a little bit less knowledgeable about what the different types of superchargers sound like compared to each other. But there are blowers, there are twin screw superchargers, and yeah, all kinds of different, well, not all kinds, there are a few different types of superchargers. There's even, at the Heritage Days event, speaking of forced induction, there was a Pro Charger last year, which I believe what that is you have a belt, like a pulley system, like you would normally have with a supercharger, but then also the exhaust feeds into the same system as well. So you get a little bit of both what a turbocharger and what a supercharger would do. Honestly, I don't know what a Pro Charger sounds like. When the car was there last year, I didn't get to hear it running at all. And I don't think I've really been around any other Pro Chargers in my life. They're extremely rare, but they do exist. Anyway, the whole point is, I think it would be interesting to bring the motorcycle down. I don't think that I really will, but it would be interesting if I did. Anyway, so these are the sorts of things that I think about in my free time. Forced induction, the sounds of engines, and that doesn't even include all the different sounds of like a Harley, different sort of twin cylinder, like V twins. Ducatis have L twins, which are more or less the same as the V twin, but anyway, don't tell a Ducati fanboy that I said that. And then Ducati also has some things like 4-cylinder configurations that are similar, like V4s. V4s aren't specific to Ducatis, but they're kind of known for their V twins and their V4s. I know like Honda actually at one point had V4 motorcycles in their MotoGP bikes. And then like if you take this 600cc engine that revs up to like 16,500 RPM approximately, and then you compare that to like 1,000cc four, like inline four, just like this, the same configuration as this one but a different size. Now, those ones will tend to only rev out to, maybe 13,000 RPM, but those make a very unique sound. And then there are some forced induction motorcycles as well, like the Kawasaki H2. That's, the H2R I know for sure. I'm a little less knowledgeable about the H2, but I think they have more or less the same engine. Maybe I'll put on the screen whether that's true or not, but the H2R for sure is a supercharged, I believe, inline-4, 1,000cc, I believe. Anyway, I'll put the specs on the screen, but the H2R has a very unique sound as well. So all these different motorcycles make different sounds, and then you add into the mix all your sort of like classic vehicles and different things. And this is why my wife makes fun of me, because I'll be, I don't know, in a restaurant or whatever, or even just in my house, you know, we have a window open or something, and something will go by, and I'll explain. I'll be like, oh, that sounded a lot like, you know, obviously, like, I can tell what a Harley sounds like, but, you know, I could be like, oh, that sounded a lot like a Dodge Hellcat, you know, like a Challenger or Charger, or oh, that was definitely a 600cc sport bike, you know, because there's no mistaking those, different things like that. And she'll make fun of me for that. We have a neighbor up the street who has Volkswagen Golf TDI, I believe is what it's called. It's a turbocharged diesel engine, and that makes a very unique sound as well. Maybe I'll make a video at some point of different motorcycle engines and what they sound like. That doesn't even include, there is a motorcycle that I've been looking at. If I had the money, I would buy it, but I don't have a ton of disposable income at the moment. But there is a motorcycle called the Yamaha YR1, not to be confused with the R1, which is a 1000cc 4-cylinder cross-plane engine, which is a whole different group of things. Well, I don't even know if I should get into this right now, but yeah, cross-plane engine is an engine where the engine crankshaft has lobes that are offset in a different way than a parallel crank engine. So like if you have a V8 motor, typically that'll be like a cross-plane V8. You'll get that in most American vehicles that are V8s, and those will sound like more grumbly, and they have I guess less symmetrical pattern of the firing order of the cylinders, and that actually will make a pretty different sound than a parallel crank V8 engine like you would get with some exotic Italian supercars and different things like some Ferraris, Maseratis, etc. But yeah, those are pretty unique. But one of my favorite categories of engines is two-stroke engines, which we used to have mostly two-strokes in lawnmowers. Even our lawnmowers now are often like four-stroke motors. Man, there's so many different types of engines. Now I'm thinking about rotaries and airplane engines. Don't even get me started. But anyway, there's a lot of different types of motors that just make totally different sounds. And I should probably make a video about the different sounds of the different engines someday. Unless that's what this video becomes. But anyway, there's a 350cc 1967 Yamaha YR1 two-stroke sport bike. Well, it's not really a sport bike, it is a street bike. At the time it might have been considered a sport bike, but the YR1 is a pretty unique type of motorcycle. And again, I want to stress this is not the same as a Yamaha R1. The R1, like I said, is 1000 cc's cross-plane, more or less based on the MotoGP bike that, you know, even Valentino Rossi was famous for riding. But anyway, the YR1, there is one for sale not that far away from me. Hopefully none of you listening to this go out and buy it, because I want to see if I can save up money and eventually buy it. But if you do, go for it. Just let me know so I can see it. But yeah, it's a two-stroke. And the cool thing about those, well, there's a lot of cool things about two-strokes, but I don't know. That'll have to be its own video. But anyway, I just think it's a super cool bike. I'll put a picture of it up on the screen. There's one of those, and then there's also a Kawasaki Avenger A7, both of which listed for pretty affordable prices in my opinion, less than I paid for this bike. But I just don't really have a ton of money for it right now. And if I had infinite money, I would probably buy like an old Yamaha TZR 250 or even a TZR 500 if I had a ton of money. or the actually I think the 500 might have had a different name, but yeah, the Suzuki had like an RD 500 Gamma or something like that, and then there was the NSR 250 and the NSR 500, which are made by Honda, or were made by Honda. And all of those that I just mentioned were two-stroke sport bikes as well. Two-strokes tend to be, if you do find a two-stroke in a motorcycle, it's usually a dual sport. I know like KTM still makes 250cc two-strokes, but for the most part, due to emissions regulations, two-strokes have just not been included in motorcycles for a long time. Similarly, rotary engines were experimented with a little bit in motorcycles. I forget the exact names of them, but I know Yamaha made one, at least one rotary engine motorcycle, and I believe Suzuki did as well. But those are super cool. So all that was to say, I have a habit of revving my engine anytime I'm in a tunnel, and I apologize if I'm ever around any of you and you get annoyed by my loud, obnoxious engine sound. But man, it's just something unique about the reverberations of the engine, the echo in a tunnel. It's just something to live for. What is this? A nice Porsche. Yeah, see, on the topic of engine sounds, Porsches, they tend to have boxer engines, similar to Subarus, except Porsches have them typically in the... Alright, well, I enjoyed cruising around, yapping about engines. So if you enjoyed, feel free to subscribe. My goal for the future is to reach 1,000 subscribers. I think anytime after that, I'll be content. The reason that is my goal is because with 1,000 subscribers and a certain number of watch hours, I can monetize my videos. So it'd be really cool to get some money for posting these videos. Then I can put that towards probably just making more videos. Like I said, I'd probably start off with getting the editing software. But I think that'd be super cool if I could get up to 1,000 subscribers at some point. I've only had the channel for, what is it, less than a year so far. One riding season. And I'm up to, last I checked, either 127 or 129. So I'm getting there. Anyway, the point is, if you want to, you can subscribe. If you don't want to, that's fine. Just figured I'd bring it up. Anyway, have a great one. Cheers.